Yesterday, competing at the famous Walsh hill climb. Today, driving down a country lane in rural Worcestershire. This stunning MGC GTS Roadster is really the best of both worlds. And as I will show you in this video, it is also arguably the closest you'll ever get to owning the two legendary works race cars campaigned by BMC's competition department at the end of the 1960s, including a class win in 1968 with Paddy Hopkirk at Sebring. So join me for a ride to figure out what makes this particular example so special and why this could be your perfect historic racing car. So what makes this particular example so special? Well, MG enthusiasts will know that the competitions department only built two cars that were actually campaigned in 1967, 68 and 69. Both of them were GTs, so the hardtop version. They were used in international races. The most famous one is in 1968 when Paddy Hopkirk actually secured a class win at Sebring with one of the two cars. They were very different from a normal MGC GT in that they only kept sort of the center section in steel and then used an aluminium roof, door skins, wings, bonnet and hood. And it is obviously the front and rear wings that makes these cars look so special, because they were preparing for much wider wheels to give you better grip on a racetrack. So the cars were lighter, they were faster because the engine was slightly enlarged from 2.9 to 3 liters. It had a different camshaft, bottom end, was balanced properly, had a different exhaust and inlet, and used 3 Weber carburetors in place of the 2 SUs. You had a stiffer suspension and many other little modifications. Obviously the cars have no bumpers, they have a different balance, front and rear. So these cars were really fast, but they only built 2 of them. All in all, they had 6 prepared body shells. Now there was a guy in 1970 called John Chatham. He was supposed to drive for BMC, but then they axed the program for cost reasons. So what happened was that they offered him to buy the 4 remaining body shells and all the parts. He did. He built up a couple of cars and raced them in the 70s. And then he decided it would be nice to have some fresh air while you're out driving. So he built himself a Roadster, because obviously the factory cars were GTs. The first one was red, called the Red Rooster. It was his personal car, and then he made a second one, and this is this particular car. So it's actually a Chatham built car, the same guy who bought the BMC racing program, and that's what makes it very, very unique. Now the difference to the competition cars is that the wings on this car are not made of aluminium, they're made of glass fiber, but they're actually molded from the original wings. So I would say this is as close as you can get to one of the factory cars. It also has proper mini-light wheels, not the replicas. The engine is much like in the competition cars, and as you saw earlier, it's a thrill to drive. I mean, the engine has a fantastic sound, the suspension is stiff, the steering is great. You can really see the potential that the MGC would have had BMC decided to invest properly into the project, but they didn't. So once again, it's really special for me to be able to drive this car. I saw it yesterday at Walsh. Martin Stratton was driving it, a proper racing driver up the hill. Now we've taken it for a ride, and it's just a thrill to be with such a special car. It's British Racing Green. Well, I think there are so many things that you could say about it, but I think this kind of sums it up. And I think that this would be the perfect vehicle for anyone who wants to go into historic racing. Once again, you can drive to the track, campaign the car, and drive back home again afterwards, just as well as going for a coffee on a Sunday afternoon. You need to watch out a little bit with the Weber carburetors because they are a bit tricky. You need to keep them at revs, otherwise the engine might stall. It doesn't like to idle. This car wants to be out on the open road. It wants to breathe properly. But it's a lovely, lovely car, and I'm really grateful to to the owner, and I'm also very grateful to his grandson because he's the one helping me out today making this video. So a big thanks to you guys, and I hope you enjoyed this short tour back in history. This is a 1969 car built in 1972. So anyway, let us know what you think in the comments and contact us if you're interested in the car.